Lev, thank you very much for joining us on the programme. We now move on to more news from the Middle East, where Oman says the fifth round of Iran-U.S. nuclear talks will take place in Rome on Friday. Iran has confirmed it will participate in the meeting. The announcement came from Omani Foreign Minister Badr al-Usadi. The Gulf nation is acting as a mediator in the talks between Tehran and Washington. Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Ismail Baghei said that Tehran has agreed to a proposal put forward by Oman to mediate the talks in the Italian capital. He reaffirmed that the Iranian negotiating team is committed to defending the nation's rights, which includes the peaceful use of nuclear energy and lifting of what it called unjust sanctions. The most recent round of talks took place in Muscat on May the 11th. Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has said earlier this week that he does not expect the negotiations to result in any meaningful outcome. He also rejected American demands to dismantle Iran's uranium enrichment program. Uranium enrichment remains a main sticking point in the ongoing negotiations. Iranian negotiator Abbas Araghchi had earlier said that enrichment would continue with or without a deal, while American officials have stressed that any agreement must include a complete halt to enrichment. Meanwhile, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that he would welcome a nuclear deal that will prevent Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Let's listen in to his comments.
איראן נשארה איום רציני מאוד על ישראל. אנחנו כמובן בתיאום מלא עם ארצות הברית, מדברים איתם כל הזמן, ואנחנו מקווים, הם יכולים להשיג הסכם שימנע מאיראן נשק גרעיני. זה אומר שהוא ימנע מאיראן את היכולת להעשיר אורניום. אם זה יושג, ודאי, אנחנו כמובן נברך על כך. אבל בכל מקרה, מדינת ישראל שומרת לעצמה את הזכות להגן על עצמה מפני משטר שמאיים להשמיד אותנו.
We're now joined by Ross Feingold, political risk analyst located in Taipei, Taiwan, to discuss this in more detail. Ross, thank you very much for joining us on the programme. These talks, Ross, have been going on for a few weeks now, both sides releasing some conflicting statements, some positive statements from both sides saying there's progress being made, but that maintainment of enrichment must be continued by Iran. It seems to be a point of contention in these negotiations that they cannot agree on. Can I get your thoughts on how you think the negotiations are going?
The good news is that they're still talking, and they've done so through several rounds in different locations with intermediation by third parties, and they're willing to have another round coming up soon. So there's a positive in that they're willing to talk to each other, whether that's directly or indirectly. So we know that negotiations are continuing, and that means they do have something to talk about. It hasn't fallen apart yet. However, as you said, they do have, at least from their public statements, they do have this very large gulf where the United States says no uranium enrichment capability whatsoever, and Iran says they need to retain their uranium enrichment capability for civilian nuclear power use.
And Ross, we've seen this statement from Iran's supreme leader publicly doubting the outcome. These talks more about appearances than real diplomacy, do you think?
I think we should give the United States at least the benefit of the doubt. I won't speak about Iran per se, but I think the Trump administration has a genuine desire to reach a deal. They've made their willingness to do that clear by engaging in these negotiations. President Trump has said publicly that he wants to reach a deal, and he thinks that there is a deal to be reached, and that commerce between Iran and other countries, potentially including the United States, if sanctions are removed, could resume. And he said frankly, some nice things about Iran, which might be somewhat unexpected coming from President Trump. We know he loves to negotiate, and he sees himself as a deal maker, but I think we should take President Trump at his word. He does believe that there could be a negotiated solution, and he's willing to put his own political capital into these talks and see where they go.
Ross, let's look at both outcomes of this. Let's say that the United States do make a deal with Iran and prevent them from enriching uranium further. And then we have to look at the other one and see they don't make a deal and they continue enriching. They do maintain that their enrichment program is a friendly one. But what does this do to the stability of the region if Iran does, in fact, develop nuclear weapons, continue their enrichment program, however you'd like to put it?
The United States has made it abundantly clear that their position is that Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. And more so than the United States, Israel has made its position abundantly clear as well. And if Iran goes down the road to enriching uranium for use in a nuclear weapon, it's pretty safe to assume that Israel is going to do a first strike on the related facilities. Now we know they're buried in mountains and they're hard to attack from the air. But Israel will take action. They've made that so very clear, and I think we should also take them at their word. And we see in Israel that there's protesters against the Netanyahu government's prosecution of the war in Gaza. They want the hostages back. People think, or some people don't like Netanyahu over corruption allegations. They don't like his style, whatever it is. But I think it's safe to assume that the Israeli public is going to be very unified if the Netanyahu government deems it necessary to conduct an attack on Iran's nuclear facilities. So the best position for Iran really would be to reach a deal.
Ross Feingold, thank you very much for joining us on the program. We now move